everyone. Now it's time for JenTalk 4 in our Research Methods class, the essentials of a good evaluation research study. Evaluation research as applied research. The big question for many of you is, what is evaluation research? Well, as the title implies, evaluation research is a type of applied research. So let's talk a little bit about applied research versus basic research. How do they differ? The big question there is, will your investigation or study be used to help understand and solve tangible real-world problems, or is the primary aim or goal of your study to further our general knowledge or help answer a curiosity that you have? Applied research is conducted to solve immediate real-world problems. Let's compare basic research with applied research. Basic research has these components. It focuses really on curiosity and answering questions that we're curious about, more theoretical. It expands and fills gaps in the knowledge. A lot of times with basic research, we have the luxury of being more objective because it's not sponsored by a specific entity with a purpose. So someone didn't come to us and say, I'd like you to investigate this and I'm going to fund your research, or I need your research so that I can promote my business or my organization. So usually researchers go into it not biased by who is providing the funding or the sponsorship of their research. Basic research though, can also be a bit out of touch with real-world issues, or can seem a bit too contrived to be generalizable to real-world populations or situations. Now let's talk about applied research. Applied research enhances knowledge related to practical decision-making. It leads to concrete, real-world applications. It's used to answer specific questions and solve specific problems. It can be biased when sponsored or requested by an entity with an agenda and with specific goals for the research. It may be specific to one setting or group and not generalizable to another, similar or group settings. Business and industry related R&D or research and development seeks to uncover needs not being met within a specific area and use the data to design products or services that will meet needs or desired interests. R&D research is almost always applied research, not basic or theoretical research. So how are they alike? They're both very rigorous. You're going to go through the same steps regardless of which type of research you engage in. They're both systematic. Remember the recipe analogy. You're creating and following a very specific recipe. They involve all steps in the empirical research approach that we've talked about. You have research questions and hypotheses. You develop both of those things. You engage in systematic research design. That's that recipe. Are you doing surveys, field work, participant observation, experiments? You engage in data collection, whether you're doing basic or applied or evaluation research. You do data analysis, both qualitative and quantitative, and you report that data. Evaluation research is frequently referred to as program evaluation. I will oftentimes use that PE or program evaluation when I'm describing evaluation research. Evaluation research or program evaluation involves assessing and evaluating a program, process, policy, or object or product. Evaluation research refers to the research procedures and techniques used to examine the effectiveness of programs and objects that have societal significance. Public entities or organizations with publicly funded programs are the most likely to engage in formal evaluations or program evaluations. They need to prove the worth or value of what they're doing in order to continue receiving public support and funding. When done in an objective manner, which is always the goal of empirical research, to be as objective as humanly possible, new ideas for solving problems can be generated through a program evaluation or evaluation research. Program evaluation studies can inspire new ideas. Let's talk about some examples. Is a specific social program having the desired effect? For example, a school program to help kids improve their grades, is it actually working? A homeless outreach project to decrease HIV among participants? A community-based program devised to reduce assistive technology abandonment among specific groups of users. All of these are things that we might look at for program evaluations to see if the program in place is actually effective. Is an AT device improving the quality of life of a group of people? That's a question that you might ask if you're going to do an evaluation study. There it's less of a program, more about a product or an object. Is an organizational policy having the desired impact on institutional behavior? That's also an evaluation study, less a program evaluation, more a policy evaluation, but they follow the same steps. For example, CSUN has a policy or a guideline that states that all video content for the classroom must be captioned. Is that policy affecting behavior appropriately? That's something that we could study at CSUN that has not yet been empirically studied, and that would be an evaluation study. Let's talk about the 10-step evaluation process. Step 1, identify the purpose and the scope of the program evaluation. Why are you doing a program evaluation? Do you want to evaluate the entire program or just part of it? What do you want the evaluation to tell you? What are your research questions? Communicate with the organization's leadership or those requesting the program evaluation before proceeding with the research to ensure everyone agrees with the planned direction and goals. It's not your research project, it's being contracted by someone, so you really have to make sure that everyone's on the same page before you move on past the first step. Step 2, review the program's existing mission and goals. Closely study the program's goals, as stated by the designers of that program. What improvements do the founders wish to make in the program? How do those match up with the goals? Step 3, identify and connect with evaluation stakeholders. Stakeholders are not necessarily who you might think they are. Stakeholders are those who have a stake in the results of the evaluation, not the target recipients of the program. So in the previous examples, the kids whose grades would be improved, or the people who are using AT device, or the homeless folks are not the stakeholders. It's those who are interested in making the improvement that are the stakeholders, and maybe the parents of the kids and other community members who want those programs in place. Stakeholders include people both inside and outside of the organization. It can be the general population. It can be taxpayers, voters. During this phase, gain an understanding of what questions stakeholders have about the program, project, or policy. Again, you're going to make real-world and applicable recommendations. So you really want to understand what people out there who are invested in the program, emotionally or financially, want to know and learn and want to see improved. Step 4, revisit the purpose and scope of the program evaluation now that you've spent that time understanding the mission and getting to know the stakeholders. Based on the feedback from stakeholders and the initial goals for the program evaluation identified in Step 1, rewrite the purpose of the evaluation and write your research questions or evaluation questions. Step 5, will the program evaluation be led by internal or external evaluators? This is an important question, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Based on the scope of the evaluation and the nature of it, decide whether you need to hire an external evaluator or if you can conduct the evaluation with current internal staff. Develop a budget based on your decision. As you can imagine, if you need to use externals, it'll probably be more costly. Step 6, select data collection methods and instruments. Select relevant data collection methods driven by the evaluation research questions, and select or design data collection instruments like surveys, observation methods, interviews, focus groups, etc. So now it's starting to sound a lot like basic research. At the point in which we hit Step 5, that's the case. Step 7, pilot your data collection instruments. This should also happen in basic research. It's absolutely critical when you're doing program evaluation, policy evaluation, product evaluation. Test the initial instruments with a handful of volunteer participants and ask for their feedback on the instrument, whether it's a survey or the protocol that they had to follow to test something. This will help you determine if you have the clarity and the effectiveness in your instrument to follow. Make the adjustments and move ahead. Step 8, you engage in your data collection. Step 9, you analyze that data and interpret the results. In Step 10, you report your findings, in this case to the stakeholders, and this is again how it varies from basic research. With basic research, You would report your findings to the university that you're working for. You'd report your findings through your publications and journals. In program evaluation or evaluation research, you write up data analysis and interpretation for the stakeholders. Include the initial goals of the program evaluation and how the program fits in the context of the organizational mission. Let's talk about internal and external evaluators. Internal evaluators, typically they're staff members of the investigating agency, therefore they're less costly. It engages people who are familiar with the organization, credible within the organization, and they are people who can develop internal evaluation capacity with and among colleagues, staff members. This can be very helpful. The disadvantages of using internal evaluators include potential lack of objectivity and openness to new ideas, the burden of additional tasks on existing staff members, and some of them may not have the power within the organization to actually get people to do what you need them to do in an evaluation. Let's talk about external evaluators. Typically, they're brought in as consultants. They possess specialized evaluation skills. They work independent of the organization, so they do not feel compelled to please the director or the contracting agency, and they can maintain their objectivity. The downside to engaging external evaluators include a lack of intimate knowledge of the program and the organizational culture. You'll be paying them to spend some time understanding who you are. As an outsider, they may have limited access to internal information and people. It may be that through the evaluation you need staff members or your constituents to open up to them. And depending on the area of interest, it may be difficult for people to open up to strangers. And so you may need to use internals so that you can get at the heart of the problem. It really depends on the type of program you're evaluating. There's a potential for added cost to the organization. In an ideal world, you'll employ a hybrid approach, capitalizing on the benefits of both types of evaluators and minimizing the disadvantages. So where possible, it's great to do an evaluation that can include internal and external evaluators. You just want to make sure they're both following the exact same protocol. The bottom line of a program evaluation: if you wish to solve an applied, real-world problem that is immediately accessible to you and to a body of people or recipients of a service, an applied evaluation study is the likely best choice for you. If you have a workplace project, if you would like to assess, if you have a school-based solution you'd like to evaluate, or a community or healthcare-based intervention you wish to appraise, a program evaluation project is the research design of choice for you.